Hey, y'all, welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Shane Sams. I'm your host. Thank you so much for listening. I got a special guest for you on the show today. Now, usually I'm only coaching you up with a free masterclass that we air right here on the podcast, answering questions from the Flip Lifestyle community, or I'm hanging out with one of our members. But I have a special guest today. I recently got the opportunity to interview the icon himself, Dean Graziosi. I had so much fun, and this interview was such an awesome thing to be a part of. I just had to share it right here on the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. I actually recorded it for my other show, but it's so good. I was like, I'm airing it on both. We're sending this one all across the airwaves everywhere we can. And I was really excited, guys. I don't geek out much, but I was a little bit of a fanboy. I was a little bit of a fanboy on old Dean Graziosi. I used to watch these guys' infomercials, man, and I used to love them. I just sit there and just watch them inside and out, man. I got to have a great conversation about that with Dean, and we talked about a lot of amazing world-changing stuff, ways that you can go out there and not only change your family's future, but really impact the world. I know you're going to love my interview with Dean Graziosi, so I'm not going to sit here and ramble on like I always do. I'm going to get out of your way. I'm going to circle back around. I got an announcement for you after the interview. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. 3, 2, 1. Dean, what is happening, brother?
Good to be here.
Man, I am pumped up to talk to you, but I got to tell you something first. I got to call you out for something, Dean. See,
all right.
You actually started an addiction in my life. An absolute addiction. It was a good addiction, though. It wasn't one of the bad ones.
Good. Thank God.
Man, I used to, when I was in college in my youth, back in my 20s, dude, I got hooked on watching your infomercials. I never got to real estate stuff. I was obsessed with the structure of the infomercials and like how you would sell the thing and you would talk to the testimonials. And it created an addiction to infomercials. Like,
you know what's so funny you say that, man? I love hearing that because I was addicted to them. It's why I ended up there. And it's
right.
Funny.
It's amazing.
Do you know Russell Brunson?
Oh, yeah.
So Russell told me that when he was a kid, his parents thought he had an issue. He used to go and literally watch my infomercial. He taped it and he'd watch it all the time. His parents were like, do you want to watch like a regular movie or why do you watch this crazy stuff? He said he became addicted to it as well. Isn't that funny?
And then we finally, when we started getting YouTube, I could look up infomercials, right? When that came out, right? And it was amazing. And then we've got that channel on our direct TV. It's called like Look or something. So people will come over my house and I'm sitting there watching this Look channel in the middle of the afternoon. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, bro, they're selling knives. If you can sell knives, you can sell anything. And when I started in the online business world back in 2012, it was awesome because when I started learning about email copy, I was like, sales funnels, webinar. I'm like, this is just infomercials.
I gotta tell you, Shane, sometimes people say to me, dude, why would you do infomercials? Because some people look at them as kind of cheesy or off. I'm like, I started in 1997. There was no dial-up. There was no internet. There was no Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcast. None of that existed. It was either infomercials or like carrier pigeon. Like,
right.
like that was it. I chose it because it was the only mechanism in which I could reach people and impact their lives. And the fact of the matter is though, Shane, as funny as that sounds, and I appreciate the humor on being hooked on it because I was too, but it made me the marketer and the person I am today because an infomercial is completely different than being online. We are blessed today's world to have opportunity to impact our ideal client, find them like this. An infomercial, you're casting a really wide net. So it had to push me to be better at communicating, to share my message, to get people to say yes.
Point. Yeah, because now you can just say, I want to target all these people. And I know exactly what to say to them because Facebook told me or someone told me.
Exactly.
Instead of, it's on at 12 o'clock on NBC. Here we go, right?
Exactly.
Who's watching? I don't even know right now, right?
Shane was, so that's cool.
I was watching, man. I'm pretty sure that in my 10,000 hours of becoming pretty good at this, you've made me some money along the way, man. So
well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
You know, when I see somebody like you, I get really fired up, man, because it's always incredible to see somebody who has like really done something cool, like made it in other spaces, whether it's real estate or like we do memberships or like my buddy sells football stuff, you know what I mean? But like when you see somebody that's really successful, they could just like ride off into the sunset, you know, but you don't do that. Like you're here, like putting your knowledge in a consumable place so other people can actually learn like what you're doing. I just wanted to say, like, how did you decide to get into the knowledge industry? How did you decide to start teaching people these things? Because you were doing really good in the other thing that you were doing anyway. So why did you do that?
Really good question. So I was in, this is like a weird evolution, but I had a collision repair shop. I started fixing cars right in high school. I had a tow truck company, and I had about 20 apartments, and I was building houses. This is all by 25, 27 years old. Fortunately, and we don't have to go back to my story, but I didn't start with money. I didn't have a college degree. No one blessed me with anything. I didn't feel I was that smart. I just did not want to end up where my parents were. I love them to death, but they struggled their whole life. Man, I was just working really hard to get away from that. But I was doing it in a really, how to say it? Did you ever have a place in your life, Shane, where you were starting to have success, but it wasn't so healthy for you? Maybe whether that was sleepless nights or stress into you, where you got an ulcer or sick to your stomach or worrying. So sometimes you fall into a success trap. I went from nothing to starting having momentum, making some money, but I wasn't doing it in a healthy way. And what do you think happened? I watched an infomercial in the middle of the night.
There you go. See, big guy. It all goes back to the infomercials, man.
I watched Tony Robbins, and I feel like, oh my God, this dude is speaking to me. Like, my dad would say, this guy's crazy. He would say he's too foo-foo. It's not about your thoughts. It's about your brute force actions, right? Even though my dad never made more than $30,000 a year his entire life, right? Until I retired him. But so I buy Tony Robbins' course. I devour the whole thing, Shane, and it fundamentally shifted my life. I mean, I have to say I was already on my way to success, but not internally. And I let go of beliefs. I forgave family who did some crazy crap to me. I overcame obstacles. I created a new story for myself. I didn't let the self-doubt and the naysayers around me stop me and all these crazy things. I started getting momentum. And a year later, I'm like, here's something cool. I didn't know it was a business. Tony Robbins took my money, and the only thing he gave me is his experience. My dad would consider that crazy on my part. I considered it brilliance. The guy changed my life. I gave him money, and his asset lived in his head. He didn't have to have a warehouse. He didn't have to buy a commodity. He didn't have to store it. He didn't have to shift it. He unpackaged what he knew, changed my life. I'm like, I'm all in. And within a year and a half, I was filming my own infomercial again, because there was no going on Facebook or getting an account on mastermind.com or any of that. It just didn't exist. Right. So that's what got me in the industry. I went in, had no idea what I was doing, completely bombed, losing my money nonstop. I was flipping houses to pay for all the losses, trying to get my infomercial to work. No, I'm not exaggerating. There was a time where I moved out to Phoenix because there was a lot of people in that space out here. And I grew up in upstate New York, where my collision shop and auto sales were. I'd come out to Phoenix, blow all the money in about 2.5, 3 weeks trying to get things going with this business. I'd fly back to New York, sell a house, flip a few cars, put 10 grand in the bank account, come back out to Phoenix and try to get it going again.
That's kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but there's some ROI on the other end of it.
Yeah, thank God there was an ROI. So, but that's how I got in. And then, of course, I made it a business. And that's 23 years ago. I made it a business, Shane. But then when it started to be not only successful, when I really got addicted is when you saw the impact you make on others.
Do you remember like the first person or first people? Do you remember an early story? You like someone wrote you in and said, this really changed my life. And you're sitting there like, that's not fixing cars, man. That's different, right? That's not towing trucks,
Completely. And I have to tell you, I got in it because I'm like, what a cool way to make a living, help people, get paid. Boom. And then all of a sudden it became a year and a half of trying to figure it out. I wasn't smart enough to go find guidance. I was trying to figure it out, and I was using most of my money. Then I got down to credit card money. And I have to tell you, I lost in that transition to helping people for a while. I'm just like, I got to make this business work. And then it started getting momentum, and I started digging in, and all of a sudden the letters and the emails and they started to come. And I'm like, wait a minute, stop. Tony changed my life. I'm doing that now. And that puts a whole nother level of juice behind it, right? Especially now I would tell you said something else. So let's evolve now. I've been blessed to start 13 companies. I'm in a place in my life where if I wanted to cash out and just be done, go buy a vineyard and retire and hang out with my kids and my wife, which I love doing more than anything, I could. I'm blessed to be in a place like that. But now I'm completely addicted to impact, because what do we put on this earth to do? Like, you get to a certain point when your life is okay. It's like about giving it all back, and growth and contribution and sharing and serving. If someone didn't help me with knowledge, I don't know where I'd be, because college wasn't working for me. So now I'm completely hell-bent. And my partner is Tony Robbins, who's more hell-bent than me on impacting lives. So now it's like, I guess this is my next 50 years of just trying to provide wisdom for people, knowledge, information, so they can go faster.
And you can't take it with you, so you might as well leave a bunch of it behind, money and knowledge. You know what I'm
saying?
And
if I leave all the money to my kids, I'll ruin their lives anyway. So I tell them all the time, I'm like, listen, most of this is going to charity, guys. So you best
you better start listening to the CDs and the MP3s of me and Uncle Tony over here, or you're going to be gone, right? It's funny you say that, man. Like Tony hit your life, and then you go and hit somebody else's life. I always share this quote with anybody I can tell it to or on stage. I say, there's this quote from Mother Teresa. You may have heard it before. This reporter asked her, do you really think you can change the world? Like real sarcastic, like you're a little nun in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And Mother Teresa said, I don't think I can change the world, but I can pick up my stone and cast it out upon the waters and cause many ripples. And like Tony throws his stone. I know, man, that's my favorite quote on the planet, because man, every day I get up, man, I actually have where is it? It's over here on my desk. It's falling off. I got this little rock, and I keep a little rock on my desk. So when I walk in my office every day,
you're casting stones.
I got to cast my stone, man. I got to throw my stone out there.
Dude, what a great quote. Thank you for sharing that with me today. Yeah, I'm going to keep that in my heart.
Well, listen, man, tell me more about this, like knowledge industry, self-education. You know, when I grew up, I'm a little behind you. I'm 43 years old. So I was a 90s kid. I mean, it was all go to college, get a job, retire. That was your whole train track that people put in front of you in life. But now, I mean, you can basically learn anything, access the sum of all human knowledge right now on your phone. Why do you think self-education is coming to the forefront, becoming more important than even like the college degrees, especially in the modern world and the post-pandemic world now that everything has changed?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, here's my belief. Is specialized knowledge is what everybody's looking for in today's world. I think this has been around for a long time. If you're probably like me, like Dale Carnegie and Napoleon Hill, some of the old school personal development stuff. But Napoleon Hill wrote in one of his first books that general knowledge, no matter how much, how vast, will never lead to success. We need specialized knowledge. It just took a little time for the world to figure it out, that going to school and getting all those different degrees and taking all these different courses, when you come out, you still have to go get the specialized knowledge to be good. And look at all the big Google, Facebook, YouTube, IBM. They're saying no more college degrees needed. Just show me you have specialized knowledge in this one area of life, right? It took a little while to catch up, but here's what I believe, and it's not knocking schools. It's just, they didn't keep up, right? The world is growing exponentially. I just did this with my kids the other day, $1 a day for 60 days or a penny double. We did a penny double. They couldn't believe where we were in 30 days, but that's how fast the world is growing, and school is still linear, right? I think if you took someone from 100 years ago, 70 years ago, 50 years ago, and you brought them into a school system today and they sat in a classroom, and first you showed them an iPhone, like, oh my God, directions, this knowledge, everything would blow their mind. But then when they went in the classroom, they'd be like, oh yeah, the blackboard's now a whiteboard. Right?
They just changed the thing you write with. That's all they did.
You just change, but you still write the same stuff, right? And I think that's why schools are struggling. And to make up for it, their fees have gone up 8 times over the last 10 years. So it's unaffordable to gain knowledge that you could come out and you still have to learn. And what people are realizing, so if traditional education doesn't work or didn't work for them, secondly, learning on your own is difficult. Trial and error is hard in a world that's moving so fast.
Yeah.
So you could say, I want to go in the online space and I want to learn to be a digital marketer to share my knowledge. Man, you go out and try to just figure it out and watch people's one thing, or you buy yourself a course or get involved in a program or workshop in a weekend. Someone condenses 10 years into a weekend. Your life changes. So I think why it's growing, and Forbes says it's going to be $1 billion a day industry by 2025, is because people are going, do I go back to school? That ain't going to work. I don't want to learn on my own. Let me just find someone who's already been there. And think about this. Like, my daughter is 14 and she likes to paint. And one week she's like, I didn't want to learn oil painting. It looks really tough. She didn't think about, I didn't say a word to her. She didn't think about finding a class to go to or going to school or taking a college, taking a course at a college. She literally went online. She found this dude, Anthony, who's not a teacher. He didn't go to school for it. He's just really cool at painting oil paintings. And he decided to do a weekend workshop. She paid $97 the following weekend. She's in my kitchen with her screen up, painting oil paintings. And Anthony's teaching her on a Zoom call.
Unbelievable.
Like, that's where we're going. But here's the cool part. What the world's realizing is Anthony didn't go to college for it. He's not an expert. He might not know how to run a painting business. He might not know how to be a teacher, but the dude knows how to paint really cool stuff. And he showed my daughter and she loved it. Right.
Dude, that same thing. My 12-year-old the other day comes up to me and he goes, Dad, I want to get Adobe Premiere Pro. And I said, why? And he said, because I'm sick of watching YouTubers. I want to make my own YouTube channel. And I'm like, okay. So I bought in Premiere Pro and they have the, I think it's called Premiere Pro. It's whatever they'd use for video. And it had some videos on it and he crushed it, makes a video, comes down and he launches his own YouTube video. And then my daughter gets on this, it's like Photoshop, but it's for the iPad Pro, right? Yeah. And I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, I want to learn how to draw on this thing. She's making art. I mean, it's like legit art because she's just sitting there going through YouTube, getting, bought her a little course or two to help her out, get it there faster. And she's just making things that I couldn't imagine my 30-year-old self could have figured out in a college class on these iPad Pro things. And they're just absorbing all this knowledge. And I don't even know how fast they're looking for it. They're finding it so quick, man.
But that's the way we're going. And here's the part that the world's realizing is if, only because this is what Tony and I have been doing. Well, we've been in this industry for 60 plus years, but the last 3 years have been focusing on helping people enter this industry. Right. And we've identified 4,700 different niches, everything you could possibly imagine. So what's happening is a couple goes through a divorce and they realize they're screwing up their kids. They get together and create a framework so their kids can be a centered, focused child, and all the children are focused and they empower the kids and the kids thrive through divorce. And in any world, they move on. They did it. The kids are thriving. They're thriving. They respect each other and it's good. In today's world, they realize, wow, we created something that worked. 52% of marriages, unfortunately, end in divorce. Some people are screwing up their kids. Those people that are going through that with their kids don't look for a therapist as much as they used to anymore. They don't look for someone with initials after their name. They're looking for someone who's willing to share their experience, their results, and how they got there. And I know multiple couples and singles that are teaching people how to do an elegant divorce, a polite divorce, kid-centered divorce, because they went through the journey. And I believe 30 years ago, you'd be like, oh no, but are you a therapist? Now people go, no, as long as they went through it and they got a really good plan, I want to learn from them. That's being in the self-education industry. And that's happening in every niche you could possibly imagine.
We had a situation happen with our son when he was really little. It's actually what kind of sparked off. I used to be a school teacher and we left that to become entrepreneurs, but he was, there was a really bad situation at his daycare center where this lady was locking him in a bathroom for hours at a time.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
And we didn't know it. And when we found out, of course we got him out. Of course we got all that resolved, but there's trauma from that, like mental trauma from that. And he developed a condition where he was like scared to go to the bathroom. So he would hold, and that caused a condition where he had a condition called encopresis. Just it's gone now. All that's over with. But dude, I found people that had went through this, and that's we went online and we found people that had went through trauma, went through encopresis, went through all these other things. And that's where we learned how to help our son. That's how we learned how to pick the counselors. So like just even stuff like that, we're not even talking about making money online and all that yet. That's all part of it. But like, I mean, it can change your life if you get the right course at the right time to do the right thing.
I have a 1-year-old son too. I have a 14, a 12, and a 1-year-old, and my 1-year-old has eczema, right? And we're blessed that we can have access to anybody, but it's not working. A month ago, 2 months ago, I look at my wife is at the kitchen table watching a course from one of our students, a mom who had a son with eczema. She spent a year obsessing, didn't want him on steroids. And she found all these natural ways to heal the gut and the liver on the inside and natural ways to heal the skin on the outside. My wife spent $97 and watched this other mom share her course that she filmed in her kitchen on an iPhone. And my wife said it was the most insightful stuff she learned out of any doctor anywhere and made all these adjustments for our son. That's where the world's going. Where that mom in the old days, she cured that mess and then she went on with her life. Now people are realizing I had a mess. That's actually my message. Let me share it with people starting off on day one. I can allow them to go faster and I can sell them a course. I can actually serve them, help them by selling them the course to get there faster. And in a nutshell, that's what the self-education industry is.
Now, there's the thing that always comes up, and we see this all the time, is like motivation. And it's like, people get inertia in their life where they have all that baggage. Like everybody told them, when I quit my job, my mama, she's a Southern mama, Dean. Now she cornered me back in the kitchen and she said, you have flipped out. You have lost your mind. I can't believe you had a good job. You had health insurance. You were going to be able to retire someday. And then she walked off. She was done with me. Right. But we're all taught that, and we go to school and we invest our time and we get stuck. Right. And it takes a lot of momentum to kind of knock you unstuck. To get unstuck. And I was actually prepping for this, and I listened to a couple interviews that you did, and I heard you tell an awesome story about your dad. And you said this sentence. It was, my dad was a hustler, worked so hard, but couldn't gain momentum. What do you think people right now in 2021 need to fuel that motivation to go out and make a change, whether it's either buying the course that they need or going out and monetizing and selling their knowledge? Like what fuels that motivation to give people that momentum to knock them off the tracks?
So I do some crazy things internally to keep my motivation going, because you got to think about something. When you ask a question like that, I think there's two answers, Shane. There's the tactical and strategic. And like, if you want to pivot into a different industry, right? But still, none of that works. You could give somebody a business on how to sell $20 bills for $10. And if their mindset's off, they'll screw it up. It doesn't work where I live. Yeah. People don't like $20 bills in this area, right? I don't like the president that's on it, or, it's a scam. Like, right. Like you'll still screw it up, right? So the tactical, I can get to that in a moment, but I think we have to go upstream and just really take a moment. This is a crazy time in the world. We know that uncertainty is at an all-time high. People know that they want to make a transition. They want to shift, want to build another level of security. So if the world goes crazy or continues to stay crazy, that they're secure. I get that. But a lot of times that uncertainty causes us to freeze. It causes us to wait for someone else to fix it. And I love the saying of what you said before. Your mama who loves you to death, without realizing it, was saying, I think you'd be safer, Shane, if someone else owned your future rather than you owning your future. Mm. And she didn't even realize she was saying that to you. But man, the thought of you, especially what you're giving back to the world and the freedom you have now and the impact you're making. Could you imagine if someone else, a school system, still owned you? Right. I bet you that seems like death, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'll never go back. Never.
Right. So here's what I want to share with everybody listening. And maybe you heard me or someone else say this before, but I want you to really think about this. We all believe in something, maybe your maker, God. I believe in God. I have a connection with God, and that's just my personal choice. But I think, what if you just pretended, no matter what your beliefs are, at the end of your life, you get a chance to talk to God. You get to talk to your maker. Would you love to say, hey, I stayed in that job as a school teacher because, my mom thought it was good. And, the income was pretty good, and it made my relationships pretty good. And I had some pretty good experiences with my kids. And, I couldn't be there for a lot of the stuff because I had to work. And imagine God saying, well, did you want more? Yeah, but, I didn't want to upset other people. It was a little uncomfortable trying something new. Could you imagine saying that to your maker? I think in that exact moment, you're like, wait a minute, what am I? Damn, God, can I go back and do this again? I'd rather try and fail. I'd rather go for it because I thought I could start my own business. I had a dream. I think I could have been the teacher of this, or shared a course on this, or studied this or that. Or let me try. And what if that's it? What if there's no second chance? And I don't think God would do this, but I heard this story one time. What if you shared all that with God? And what if he played a video of the person you could have been?
Oh man, that's deep. That's deep, son. That's deep.
Right?
There,
think about, I don't think God's that mean. He just pat you on the butt and say, God, another one. I don't think God would say, God.
Probably not. Yeah.
He'd say another one. But imagine if he played the video of showing you going against your mom and say, I love you, Mom, but I'm going for it. And your wife said, are we okay? We're going to have to be okay. And your friends at school saying, man, you could retire in 14 years. Are you nuts? What if you saw all that and just said, I'm going to take uncomfortable, imperfect action. I'm going to be courageous, right? Courage isn't taking action in the absence of fear. I have little hacks to make me take action today. So yes, we could talk tactical, but if your mindset's in the wrong place, if you run back to your safety blanket, you're just going to run back to the life you're not going to be happy with at the end. And then the other thing, one more thing I want to give you really quick, is really identify what success means to you in this day and age, in this space, at this age. Success for me in my 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s has been completely different. At 52 years old, what success means to me is every day I pick my kids up from school at 3:00. My 14-year-old's going to high school next year. She'll be doing her own thing in a few years. I don't want to miss any of it. I love the ride home.
Brother.
I love the ride home of the conversation of what happened that day. And we communicate. And I'm still deeply connected to my 14 and 12-year-old, deeply. And they're good kids because of it. That's success to me. Falling more in love with my wife every day and doing the things that make her proud of me, where she looks at me with love in every single look. That makes me feel successful. Growing as a human, impacting other people's lives. That's success. That might seem boring to half of you listening. I don't care. I don't wear a fancy watch. I don't drive a Lamborghini. I can do anything I wanted. That's not success at this phase. So we can get tactical, but go upstream. Who do you want to be at the end of your life? What does success mean to you? And then attach those emotions to whatever you attack. If that's self-education, you'll go right to the top.
That's a good word, Dean. That's a good word. You're preaching today, son. I'm telling you what, man. Hey, tell me. I appreciate you being on the podcast today, man. You're giving a good word to everybody. I know there's going to be a lot of people that love this interview and get inspired to actually go get that momentum and take some action and do it. But tell me what you're doing right now, what you're doing next, and where we can go to learn more about
so
that.
If I'm so excited, it's the most excited I've been in a really long time. So Tony Robbins and I in January did a challenge for people's mindset called the New World, New You. We're in a new world. You got to become a new you. And we put 837,000 people into that challenge. It was unbelievable, from every country in the world, every language. It was unbelievable. And that was about mindset. Now we decided to do another challenge on May 11th. So write that in your calendar. And it's called the Own Your Future Challenge. Because I feel this way, right? If you don't own your future, someone else is gonna. And if that's okay with you, great. But I don't think it is, or else you wouldn't be listening to Shane. So what we're doing is a 5-day challenge. It's completely free, not kind of free. And over those 5 days, remember I said, if you have the right mindset, you need the tactics, the strategy, and kind of the introduction of how to create your own economy in this shifting world, this virtual world. It's exactly what we're doing. We're pulling back the curtain, going to go live about 2 hours a day. When you go, we have a link. Own it 74, ownit74.com. When you go there, you're going to freak out when you see the speakers, friends of ours that Tony and I asked to do, and everyone said yes. They're all coming for free, and they're all coming, just say it, hell bent on providing value to you so you can pivot, so you can shift with confidence, so you can own your future in this digital economy, in this new world. And the only thing I'll tell you, 2 things. Not only go and register, because this is a once in a lifetime thing. And that sounds, everybody says it, but it is. When the world opens back up, I'll never be able to wrangle all these amazing people, especially Tony. We got 5 days, right? So go register. There's no replay. This is it. When it's over, it's gone. But then take Own It 74 and text it to your friends and family. Get an accountability partner. Don't let this event happen without letting them know. Everybody needs to own their future. And day one, if you see the lineup, day one, Tony's going to rock everybody's world. My dear friend, Jenna Kutcher, myself. I mean, the list goes on and on. Secondly, so many times in life, when something's free, we don't value it. So I'm going to give you a little hack. Pretend you paid $10,000 for this event, because in any other place in the world, you might actually pay $10,000 or more for an event like this. You're getting it for free. It's only because these are unprecedented times, and we decided to do something unprecedented. We want to give back to the world in a big way. So go register, tell a friend, pretend you spent $10,000 for it. Show up ready to learn. It's going to be something pretty magical. We're shooting for 1 million people, Shane.
Awesome, man. Awesome stuff, dude. Hey, Dean, thank you for being on the podcast. You've been inspiring me from infomercials for a while, man. So it's a treat to hang out with you today on the podcast, bro.
You too, Shane. Keep up the good work, man.
All right, guys, that wraps up my conversation with the one and only Dean Graziosi. Man, I am so thankful that I'm a podcaster, because Dean has been a hero of mine for a long time. I absolutely love everything he says on his infomercials and all of his copy. I'm subscribed to his email list, and I just watch everything that he does. And it was a real treat to be able to talk with him today. Hey, I want to highlight again, guys, don't forget to go check out ownit74.com. That's our partner link to Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins' next big thing, the Own Your Future Challenge. Dean and Tony are putting on an amazing program with some of the craziest speakers you've ever seen in the world. People like Russell Brunson, Brendan Bouchard, Shailene Johnson, Jenna Kutcher. There's so many people that are going to be actually training you over the 5-day period with Dean and Tony, and they're going to show you how to take control of your life, take control of your success, take control of your business dreams, really take control of your future. Dean gave me access. I've already seen a lot of the trainings that they're going to do. It is extremely amazing, awesome stuff. Now, if you're a longtime listener to the podcast, you know we don't promote almost anything else on this show except for our stuff. But I've had some friends that have gotten to know Dean over time, and they told me, man, you've got to get on board with this. Then I got to meet Dean and hang out with him. I got to peek behind the curtain and see all the amazing value that you're going to get during this challenge. And I thought, you know what? We're going to push this out there. We're going to get as many flip-flop style listeners as possible to take part in this free 5-day challenge with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. So if you want to learn more about the Own Your Future Challenge, all you got to do is go to Own It 74. That's OWN It 74. Make sure you sign up. Make sure you send that link to as many friends as you can. I'm participating in the challenge, and I can't wait to see you there. All right, guys, that is all the time we have for this Flip Lifestyle podcast. Thank you so much for listening today. I can't wait to see you again next time. Until then, get out there, take action, and do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then.
Bye.